Okay. Blah. Okay. Okay. What's up, guys? My camera is set up like right by my dog, and I'm pretty sure she's gonna think that I'm talking to her the whole time. So if y'all hear her in the background, just ignore her. My last post, I had said that my next video would be my testimony and all this stuff because a lot of people have asked for it, and it was one of the videos that I intended to do whenever I first started this channel, and it's hard for me to like put into words my testimony and all that because I've never like verbally said it to anybody. So if you know the background, then you know, and if you don't, you don't. Like, that's just kind of how I am. I don't know what I'm gonna say, basically. So bear with me. It might be all over the place. I'll try to fix it, whatever. But it will definitely be a longer video. Just this lighting's okay. I don't really want my other lights on because that's just too much. But whatever. When I was a kid, I wasn't raised to go to church every Sunday. We didn't go to church all the time. We didn't pray all the time. We didn't do this, we didn't do that. The only person that I really went to church or prayed with was my grandma because she's really like deep in her faith, and she always has been. And of course when I was a kid, I was like, oh, that's like, it's not cool, blah, blah, blah. But now, being who I am today, I think it's really cool how she's so involved in everything and how she is so deep in her faith. But other than that, I was never really raised to go to church or to pray or to tithe or to do any of that, honestly. It just wasn't a part of our family. Like, yeah, we believed in God, we did this, we did that, but it wasn't a whole family thing. We didn't always go to church, whatever. Well, whenever I was about 7 or 8, whatever, one of those ages, we started going to this church about like 45 minutes away. It was the only like really big church in our area at the time. So we started going there, and we liked it. I remember thinking it was cool, but I don't really remember any of like the services or anything like that. I never had an encounter with God. So fast forward a little bit, and then my best friend, which was my uncle, he got sick and we had to take care of him, which caused us to not have time to go to church and to just kind of fall out of it. And ever since my uncle died, I just remember being so angry with God, I guess. I was just upset and I didn't know how to deal with it, so I blamed God. My uncle died 7th grade year. 8th grade year, nothing really happened, so we're gonna fast forward to high school. Freshman year, nothing really happened. You know, it's freshman year, not much changed. You still have the same friends from middle school. You still have the same moral, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So we're just gonna skip through freshman year also. Sophomore year is where it kind of got twisty. So sophomore year is when I kind of went downhill. I was never the happiest person, but I was also never the most depressed person. Like, yeah, I would get upset and I would get sad and I would cry or whatever, but it was never anything major. Like, it was just normal, like, teenage girl mood swings. Like, it wasn't anything big. And then sophomore year, honestly, a lot of stuff happened sophomore year. Here, I had about 3 friends that I considered my best friends that I would tell a lot of things to. I feel bad like putting this in here, but it honestly is a part of my whole testimony. Like, I'm not gonna say names or anything, like certain people know who they are, but I'm just gonna try to keep things as less specific as possible when it comes to certain people. So the summer of freshman year, I met this guy, and it was one of those things where it was like you meet somebody and you just know that they're gonna be important to you. We talked all through sophomore year. I don't even know how to say this. I basically depended on my happiness to come from him. Also in sophomore year, our house flooded. So we had to move out, like everything was gone. We were moved out of our house for like a good year. So we moved in with my grandma And like, me and my grandma have never had the best relationship just for certain reasons. So I didn't enjoy being there. I didn't want to be in the house. I never wanted to be at my grandma's. I was never home, honestly. So that is when I first really started to party. So I started really drinking whenever I was 15 years old, which is a very young age. And I think I knew that at the time, but it was one of those things like, why not? It makes me feel better, like, let's just do it. So we did. Summer of sophomore year, I was drinking, I was having sex, I was partying every day, I was cussing 24/7, and that went on until junior year. Junior year started, and I was really close with two of those friends, and then one of the friends, we kind of fell off a little bit. Obviously I had school friends, but junior year is when I got really depressed. Anything that I could do to make myself feel better is what I did. And in a way, it was just a way to suppress the feelings that I was having and really act like they weren't there. Because I was always the person that would check on everybody else, but if somebody checked on me, I would just act like I'm fine. Like, I wouldn't open up to people. And I think that is partly because of all of the relationships that I had been in. I would always try to take care of the guy instead of trying to take care of myself first. When me and that guy stopped talking, that honestly broke me. That's when things got really bad, because he was the only person that knew how depressed I was and what I was feeling. Even though honestly, he was causing all of those feelings. He was causing all of the issues that I was having. But I was so in love with him that I thought that he was the only one that could help, if that makes sense. Anything to not admit that he was the one that was hurting me is what I did. I kept myself in that toxic relationship, and I didn't realize that it was a toxic relationship until probably about 8 months after it ended, honestly. I was so blindsided by how much I cared for him and how much I loved him that I wasn't willing to let him go. I didn't want that. I pushed friends away. I pushed so many people away because I didn't want to push him away. And junior year, I basically lived with one of my best friends. I mean, she lived like right down the street from me, but I basically lived with her because we were drinking all the time. We were always going to parties. We always had people over. Junior year was really just one huge party, and the reason that was because I didn't want to face all the things that I was dealing with. And I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to be alone. My thing was, I didn't want to be alone. I don't know why, but I was genuinely scared to be alone. So instead of being alone, I moved in with her and we drank all the time. We stayed up all the time. We skipped school all the time. We just weren't doing the things that we should have been doing. And that's something I regret, because that caused me to miss out on so much of my junior year. So me and those two best friends had a falling out, and I ended up alone. They were hanging out all the time, and I felt left out. We all had a part in it, but it was mainly my self issues that I hadn't reevaluated yet or realized that I had yet. So after we all fell off, I didn't have any friends, and that's honestly, that ended up being my fault, because I pushed everyone away because I didn't know how to deal with the things that I was dealing with. After me and them stopped being friends, I told my mom that I was really depressed. Me and my mom never had a close relationship because, like I said, I didn't open up to anybody. So me and my mom were never really that close until all of this stuff happened, and now we are a lot closer and I do tell her things. But so at this time we weren't close. I never really talked to her about anything. But this one night, I don't even remember what happened on this night. I just remember I was in my room bawling and I didn't want to be by myself. I wanted somebody to talk to. So I texted my mom and I was like, can you come in here please? So she came in here and she sat on my bed, and I was crying so much that I couldn't even talk. So much had just happened and it all kind of snowballed all at once that I just kind of exploded because I didn't tell anybody what was going on with me. So I was crying on my bed and I was like, I'm never happy. I was like, why can't I just be happy? And I ended up going to therapy. I only went for like 1 or 2 sessions. I ended up taking antidepressants, all this stuff. And then after me and my friends stopped being friends, that's when I got really depressed. Before I told my mom any of this, I got really, really depressed and couldn't even bring myself to go to school anymore. So I told her, I was like, I don't want to go to school anymore. I was like, put me in online classes. I don't want to go every day. And part of that was because I didn't want to see my friends and I didn't want to see the guy. It's like, look, I can't. I don't want to go to school. Just take me out, take me out, take me out. So the next day we went to the school and I switched to all virtual. Which now I really wish that I didn't do that because I did miss out on that part of my junior year. Like, yeah, I still went to prom and I still went to all these things, but I still missed out. Like, I stopped going to school, and that's something that I really wish that I hadn't done, but it's what I needed to do at the time. So we're gonna go to April. This girl went to school with. She had always been so involved in her church and her youth group. One day, I don't even remember I don't think anything happened this day. I think that I just realized that I needed something more. If I wanted to get better and stop doing the things that I was doing, then I needed something more. I needed something to pull me out of that. So I texted Maddie and I said, hey, I think I want to get back into church. Can I come to your church with you one day? And of course she was so excited and she was so welcoming. And she was like, oh my gosh, yes, like come with me this Sunday, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up going twice that Sunday. This was in April, I know that much. I think it was April 10th or April 11th. Somewhere around there. So I was like, okay, so I went twice that day. The morning service that day, obviously you worship before you like do the message or whatever. I had never worshiped before, honestly. Like, I was a kid the last time that I was in a church. I didn't know how to worship. I didn't know any of the songs. I just didn't know anything. But 9:15 service came and we were worshiping. And the section that we sat in was all like the youth. So it was all people my age. Like, it was all teenagers. It was people younger than me, older than me. So I just stood there because obviously you have to stand when you worship. Until this one song came on. And it's still to this day one of my favorite songs. I actually want it tattooed on me. It's Do It Again by Elevation Worship, I think. It came on and a part in the song says, I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe that I'll see you do it again. And honestly, that's when I knew that this is where I needed to be, that church was what I needed. I didn't need the alcohol, I didn't need the drugs, I didn't need the sex, I didn't need the self-harm. I needed God, I needed church, I needed this family. And that is whenever I first realized that, like, that was God. That was literally God moving in me and telling me that this is where you're supposed to be. And that's a feeling that I will honestly never forget. And then the next week, I went to the youth group. So church is on Sundays and youth is on Wednesdays. And I don't remember what the whole message was on, but I remember the first thing that I wrote down in my notes was that God loves you right where you're at, but he loves you too much to leave you there. And I wholeheartedly believe that I was meant to be there on that night to hear that message, because that is what got me through all the other things that happened. Because I'm not gonna lie to you and say that the second I started going to church that I was totally clean and I was doing everything right and I was not having sex, I was not drinking, I was not doing all this, because I wasn't. Truth is, I went to church and I still, I knew that God wanted me there, but I was still doing all of the things that I was doing that was hurting me and preventing me from having a better relationship with God, because everybody else around me was doing it. So why couldn't I do it too? Why couldn't I do that and have a relationship with God? So I hid that whole other side of me from this church family, and I got involved with their youth group, really involved, went every week, and I even ended up going to camp with them. Camp was such a huge deal for me because I had just started going to the church in April, and we had to pay the money to go to camp by May. So between the middle of April to the beginning of May, my whole perspective was changed. I knew that I wanted to go to that church camp. I'd never been to a camp. I've never been to a church camp. I've barely ever been outside of my state. So for me to say, yes, I will go to this camp 8 hours away was a big deal for me. For me to say that I'll go to this camp and be sober for a week and not have my phone for a week and just give it all to God was a huge deal to me. But I was so excited to go. I don't know why I was so excited, but I went expecting something amazing and I got something so much better. I grew so many relationships at that camp, not just with people around me, but with God. Honestly, it was so crazy. It's crazy how much that 1 week changed me. I came back and I can honestly say that I was a totally different person whenever I came back. Okay, by this time, me and those two friends were okay, or at least me and one of them were. So I had her to talk to whenever I got back. So I got back and I remember I got on the bus. We didn't even leave the parking lot yet, and we had just gotten our phones back. And the first thing I did was text her and say, look, I'm not doing the things that I was doing. I'm not gonna be the same person that I was before I left. I want to be 100% how I was at this camp this week. And that's what I did. I stopped drinking. I stopped doing everything else. And I started focusing on God, and I started focusing on those godly relationships that I needed so badly. It still blows my mind to this day how different I am because of this church, because of this church camp. It blows my mind how much I changed in that little time. That was summer before senior year, so the summer before this year. Like I said, after camp, I was totally different. I wasn't doing the things that I was doing previously. I was just totally different. So after camp, we came back and it still caused issues in my social life and the things that I did and the people that I hung out with, because when you make those changes in your life, the people who haven't experienced it aren't gonna understand it. Basically, what I'm saying is you can't make those changes in your life and not have backlash. No matter who it's from, whether it's from your family or your friend, but it doesn't matter. If those people can't accept that you're different and that you're not gonna do those certain things anymore, then they were never really your friend. All of that being said, that was from freshman year to summer, beginning of senior year, basically. And it's currently my senior year now. And I'm more involved with my youth group than I ever have been, and I thank God every day for that group of people. You're never too far gone to have that relationship with God. I had to put my trust into God in order for me to find the person and the people and the family and the relationships that I needed to save me. I had to put myself first and focus all of my attention on God, because nothing I did worked other than finding God. If anything would have been differently, or would have worked out differently, I probably would not be where I'm at today, honestly. Because all of the things that happened just led me to be at the lowest point in my life in order to find God. And I love having that relationship with God, and I love going to church. I love my church family. I love my pastors. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so thankful that I am where I am today, and I'm just blessed, honestly. 100% blessed. So, that was a long story. This video is now at 47 minutes. That's it for my testimony. Thanks so much for watching if you watched it to the end. Like this video, subscribe. If you want any other videos, like I said, just comment and I will happily try to make those. And I'm glad that I actually finally sat down and filmed it. So I hope that it helps somebody out there, and that y'all just know that y'all aren't alone. So I love you guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.